Hey there, guys. Welcome to AFC Game by Game. I'm joined here tonight by Danny. And tonight we're going to be talking a couple of topics. The main one being whether or not this Arsenal side has got the credentials to go on and lift the league title come May. Danny, first and foremost, how are you doing this evening?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, mate. I've been very good. What about yourself?
Yeah, I've not been too bad. Thank you for asking. Pretty stressful day, but here now to talk about Arsenal, which of course doesn't stress me out all that much anyway. Um, yeah, so we've got a big game coming up on Sunday. I think we'll
Yeah,
do a little preview first of all about that. Bournemouth away from home, massive game.
yeah,
Eddie
it is
Howe at
massive.
Bournemouth have been absolute class this season. I think you'll agree. They brought in some fantastic players, not just throughout the summer, but this January transfer window, bringing in a Turbe from Roma, cracking signing
Yeah,
that, and also bringing in a fellow Arsenal man, £10 million from Wolverhampton Wanderers, Benik Afobe, 3 goals in 4 games. It's worth having your mortgage on
been
it
on
that he's going
fire,
to
ain't
score
he?
against us. Yeah, he's definitely going to bang a goal against us. So, what you're going down to the game, obviously.
Yeah,
Our past away performances since I would say November have been really, really, really off the boil. The last good one I can remember was Olympiacos away.
yeah.
So going into a game against a really in form Bournemouth side, how are you feeling about this game?
I mean, to be totally honest with yourself, Cookie, I think with Arsenal, you just don't know what Arsenal's going to turn up no more. I mean, obviously, we've gone for a little dip. I mean, personally, in regards to letting a five-way go, I think it's the wrong decision. I mean, I think we could have done with him. I don't think he would have been the answer, if you like, but I do think, he could have come on and perhaps contributed to a goal against in a game like Southampton, prime example, rather than keeping someone like Sanogo. Touched on what you said about bad performances recently. I think it's, well, especially away from home, I think it's gone downhill since we lost at the Hawthorns. I think since West Brom, you look at it, West Brom away, Norwich away, Southampton away, it really hasn't been good enough, and it doesn't fill me with the greatest confidence going into Sunday's game, if I'm going to be totally honest with yourself.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about Sunday's game is, although that I have no right to be confident for it at all, the fact that we're playing against Eddie Howe's Bournemouth, a ball playing side,
Yeah,
I think you'll agree, that like to play the Arsenal way, whatever that means anymore. Against teams like that, um, maybe it's a bit arrogant of me to say that we're better than Bournemouth, but
no, it's true.
If we play our A game, then surely we're the better side than Bournemouth. Let's not take anything for granted, of course. But if we try to play Bournemouth at our own game, because they'll essentially try to play us at our game, you would assume,
Mm,
then we should be getting the win. But the thing that worries me is the players that they've got, and they're built on a foundation of a side that have got great mentality, flooding throughout their squad. Unlike us, they seem to have a lot of leaders within their team and players
yeah,
that have come from League Two, gone to League One, the Championship. They're in
they've
the Premier
grafted
League
for it.
now. Yeah, exactly. They're a fantastic bunch of players, which are now helped with the additions of Iturbe, Phobe, etc. And they're looking like a side that could quite comfortably finish mid-table in the Premier League if they
Mm,
keep playing this attractive style of football under Eddie Howe. And I've got a lot of time for Bournemouth because given the situation they were in where they lost Callum Wilson, Gradle, Tyrone Mings, I really do think that if Eddie Howe is to keep them up, although they have got quite a bit of money behind them, shouldn't really forget that. I think he would definitely be a contender for manager of the season.
yeah,
So, like
yeah,
I
I agree.
yeah, definitely. So, like I say, going into this game, let's not take anything for granted still. But if you had to pick a couple of things against this Bournemouth side, what would you say you're most worried about going into the game?
Very simply, linking into what you said about they're a ball playing side. Now, you may think, damn, what you want about. Sides now, Southampton, for example, proved that St Mary's against us that they're a ball playing side, but they can change it up. Now, a manager like Eddie Howe gets the players to play for him, which is why they are where they are in the league, would say, look, you know what? This game, we've got to, not play the football. We've got to sit back, hit them on the break. Okay, you might want to play your football. You might be a good ball player. However, this game is about sitting back, closing down, be straight to the ball within 2 seconds, 2 men on Sanchez straight away, which is virtually what they've done at Stamford Bridge and at home to Man United. Hit them on. I know they're a set piece team as well, which worries me because, as you know, Dan, this isn't a 2 or 3 year thing. For the last 8, 9, 10 years now, we've been poor at defending set pieces. So that does concern me as well. However, I mean, as you touched on, if they decide to do what Leicester done and play their football, I think we'll murder them. I mean, 3 or 4 nil. However, as we mentioned, well, as I mentioned, I do think they're going to sit back, because teams nowadays, unfortunately, know how to play against Arsenal and set up against a manager like, well, against Wenger. Simple as that.
Yeah, a lot of interesting points made there. I honestly think that they're not going to sit back too much in this game, although I can totally see where you're coming from. I think in a way to play against us defensively is a bit of a bit of an
No,
technical
I've sorted it
difficulty
out
there.
now.
I do think if they're going to play a sort of defensive mindset, then I don't think that's going to work too heavily in their favour, because they're not the most defensively disciplined of teams. They do
No,
concede
you're right.
their fair share of goals, but even when it came to the Emirates, they didn't sit back at all, not for 1 minute of that game. I thought the
Mm.
minute that game kicked off, they played some really attractive football. And actually, for the opening 5 minutes of that game, I would say we're comfortably the better side, but that was
They
something we
used the
should.
flanks a lot that game, I noticed. They
They
used the
do.
right left wing a lot.
And that's something that's interesting as well, because we haven't used our flanks
No,
at all,
you're right.
really. That's something that's concerning me a lot. And it's ever since Campbell and Alexis have come back into the side, which arguably was only really against Southampton. I don't know if you've noticed how they're two players that seem to just cut in. They're so predictable.
Yeah,
They're always
yeah.
trying to cut into their stronger foot. And
Well,
with Alexis Sanchez, I understand why he's doing it. Iron Robin doesn't have a right foot or whatever to save his life, but he's always cutting in and he's got the capability to do it. Sanchez, very similar. He can do it and he can afford to do it, because even though the defender knows what he's going to do, he's got the tenacity and the ability to take it around him every single time, or almost every single time. But he's
yeah.
predictable. Joel Campbell, fantastic vision. I really rate the guy this season. But when we've got two players doing it on either flank, it's just leaving us narrow. And we seem
Yeah.
to lack creativity in a way. And even in that game against Southampton, Ozil seemed to be nullified at times. But I'll
Mm.
saying that, he did create 10 chances in that game, even though people think he had a poor performance. 10 chances that we haven't put away. I was just
Well,
looking.
I do think the criticism that Ozil got, sorry to interrupt, with the Southampton game was, I mean, at the time, walking out the ground, I was criticising him, but I went and rewatched the game. And at the end of the day, mate, it's no coincidence that the two or the three players that, well, two we spent money on and the other one we got for 11 million, but we would have had to have paid money for him if he was in his prime, were the three best performers, Cech, Ozil and Sanchez. Now, Cech, you might say he didn't have nothing to do, but from where me and you sit behind the goal at the clock end, every single time Southampton were wasting time, 56th minute or so. This is, I mean, if it was in the 85th minute, you can understand. 56th minute, Cech sprinting out of his goal to get the ball. Sanchez and Ozil also grafters, and it seemed, I mean, I don't want to touch too much on transfers because I know we're previewing the Bournemouth game, but it seems like you get what you pay for. And the two performers that they're the two players we spent the most money on are our two best players, whom, when they both play, usually are our two best players in the starting 11. Now, I mean, in regards to that, a lot of people did speak about a holding mid or a striker or a centre back, but it's interesting you touched on the winger role, because I've personally been saying that for a while, that we should get a winger, because Oxlade-Chamberlain just, I don't know what's happened to him. Joel Campbell, he grasps for it, and yeah, like you said, he's got good vision, but sometimes, he's basically, Joel Campbell would be a good option to bring on and perhaps start when your main winger is knackered, for example. That's no disrespect to Campbell, because he has had a great season, especially the criticism that he was getting at first. But I do think that in regards to what we're going to speak about in terms of winning the league, that's where we're going to get let down, squad depth. And I think it could even let us down on Sunday, because if Sanchez does get found out, if Giroud, has one of those games where he's flapping his arms about, attacking wise, who have we got to come on to change the game? That is the third thing that worries me. I mean, the other night we brought on Coquelin with 5 or 10 minutes to go. And I'm thinking, like, it's a like for like change. Take a gamble. Take Flamini off, put Ox on. He hasn't had the greatest season, but at least he's more of an attacking threat,
Yeah, just throw the kitchen sink at it, really. That's what I was thinking at that point. Because, to be honest, a draw against Southampton feels like a loss. I think you'd agree with me. It's
At home,
a
yeah.
point is a point is nothing at home to Southampton. It's a terrible result. And you mentioned the talking point about going on to win the league, and I think it's about time we got onto that discussion. Yes or no answer: are Arsenal going to be lifting the title in May?
No, very simply no. Now I know I get called negative a lot, but at the same time, I went to my first Arsenal game now. 2016, 14 years ago, 2002. I went to my first Arsenal game, and I've been going consistently since about 2007. And since 2007, when I was knee high, I've just seen the same thing over and over and over and over again. And this year, I'm not going to get my hopes up. The only time I did get my hopes up was after we beat Man City at home. That was the first time that I believed. And then I went down to St Mary's 5 days later on Boxing Day, and suddenly that belief just went like that. Very simply.
It's an interesting point you made there. I mean, I totally forgot that we beat one of our strongest title contenders, then went and lost to Southampton 4-0 away from home.
Only Arsenal would do that.
In the space of 5 days. Oh, it's ridiculous. Only Arsenal, like you say. But people would argue against you and say that we're 5 points off the top still.
Yeah.
Any other season in the past, I don't know, 5 years or whatever, you would have bitten your arm off to be in that situation. I am inclined to agree in a way. It's just the fact that the typical things that we talk about season upon season upon season upon season are coming through yet again. We're slating individuals for not putting in performances every single game. We're talking about there's no leadership within the squad. And although we've got fantastic quality within this side, and I sincerely believe this is a team that can win the league. What I don't believe is that they've got the mentality to do it. We've got a great group of players, but why can't we continue the vain run of form that we had at the beginning of the season for the first 3 months of the 2015-16 campaign? Why is that not flooding through now? Yes, we've had injuries. Yes, we went through a bad patch, and we come out of that kind of unscathed in a way. But why are the performances dipping now when we've even got Coquelin, Alexis, Danny Welbeck coming back into the squad in a few weeks? Why are they dipping now? There's no reason why it should. We just look unconfident. We don't strike me as a team of winners, and I think it does come down to the fact that there are very few leaders within the squad, and it really does hack me off when Wenger says this is a team that's got 11 leaders in it. No, it's not. There's honestly about 1 or 3 leaders that I can honestly hand on heart say are like proper captain potential. One of those is Petr Cech, the other one's Jack Wilshere, and the other one's Francis Coquelin.
Agreed.
Could put Per Mertesacker into the mix, but
you say that about Mertesacker. I spoke with one of my pals' dads going back around a few months ago now, and I mean, whether he's telling me the truth or not, I'm not supposed to know, but I don't see why he'd lie. He reckons that he knows somebody, one of the people in the physio, to do with the physio at Arsenal, and he reckons that the 3 leaders that Wenger rates the highest is Flamini, Arteta, and Mertesacker. Now, in my opinion, neither of those 3 are Arsenal players, let alone leaders. Now, I mean, obviously, some people will obviously debate that, and I respect their opinion, but you've got to be frank. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day, and we're talking about a striker role, and I said Giroud is no Thierry Henry. And then he goes to me, well, you can't compare Giroud to Henry, he's the club's record goal scorer. Not in terms of style of play, I mean in terms of, quality and lethalness in front of goal. And I said, we're the Arsenal Football Club. Why shouldn't we compare to the best? And that is where I think our problems have lied in the 12 years that we haven't won the league, which is where a mentality issue has developed over that 12-year period. We've allowed ourselves to fall behind, if you like, and it has affected us mentally, whether you like it or not, it has. Very simply, can we win the league this year? Yes, very easily. Will we do it? Totally different question. No, in my opinion.
It's so depressing. It really is ever so depressing. Let's talk about a few individuals that some might say haven't stepped up to the plate recently. Theo Walcott, bitterly disappointing for the past, 14 games or whatever. He's pretty much been
Since
an
Man City
absolute
at home.
yeah. Since that game, he's kind of done nothing. And even before that, he wasn't even playing particularly well. And then you've got Oxlade-Chamberlain, who I don't know if you watched the video on Arsenal Fan TV, the time added on thing with the guy from the Gooner Talk that we
Yeah,
were talking about before, and
with Mems and
uh,
DT.
DT was on there, and he said about the Chamberlain dancing thing.
Yes,
And,
yeah, and
and although
The Welbeck lying down picture doing the finger pose.
yeah, and
Yeah,
although he absolutely tore into him, um, a lot of it I agree with.
no, you're right.
Trying to come at it from a rational perspective, saying that um, the bloke's head isn't in the right place, he doesn't have the right desire, that kind of stuff. And I mean, what do you make of someone like Oxlade-Chamberlain, who hasn't really nailed down a first team spot in an Arsenal shirt ever, really? And it amazes me because 4 years ago we played Blackburn at home and we beat them 7-1. And
Yeah,
I think
remember it.
he scored 2 goals, got a couple of assists, and he looked like an absolute world beater.
I think he set
And
up all
now,
of Van Persie's goals that day. If I'm not to be mistaken, he set up all three of Van Persie's goals in his hat trick that day.
yeah,
Don't hold me to that, but yeah, he run them. He run them ragged.
but he's half the player now. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I think personally, he hasn't been given a proper run in the team, which once again, I don't want to cause too much of a Wenger in or Wenger out debate, but it's down to the manager, and it's also down to how the manager trains and develops. And I mean, for example, with Fabregas, he brought Fabregas in, and this is when Wenger was coming to the end of his successful, if you like, reign at Arsenal. He brought Fabregas in, developed him from, well, how old we are, 17, 18, 19 years old, into probably the best midfielder in the country. With Oxlade-Chamberlain, he's done the total opposite. He's just kept him on the bench, 5 minutes to go, bring him on. And I mean, I got a lot of stick personally last season for saying that, in my opinion, Raheem Sterling was not as good as, no, was better, sorry, than Oxlade-Chamberlain. And a lot of people turned around and went, you're deluded, blah, blah, blah. No, I mean, it's just a case of, I like Oxlade-Chamberlain because he runs at players and he gives it, or he used to at least, not this season. But I just think it's down to pure development. And exact same with Theo Walcott. I mean, I look at Theo Walcott. I think you've been at the club. I think, yeah, he joined 6 months prior to
He's been here 10
Rosicky.
years.
Yeah,
10
so
years.
he's the longest serving Arsenal player. He's the longest serving Arsenal player, and he just, I mean, as it's an old saying and from DT, seen more movement in a care home than Walcott against Southampton. Honestly, and I think to myself, and I touched upon it with a couple of people I go with after the Southampton game walking out. I thought, do these guys really want to win the league? Does Walcott really? It just seems like, down to what you said, a mentality issue. In the prime example that I used, in Arsene Wenger's first 10 years at the club, or his first 9 years, he developed Patrick Vieira and made him into an absolute winner, a phenomenal footballer, best in that position in the world, without a shadow of a doubt, because we were winning things and he was a winner. Theo Walcott, on the other hand, in Wenger's, if you like, second reign, if that makes sense, the barren period, because I mean, whether you're Wenger in or Wenger out, you've got to accept it's been a barren, dull, unsuccessful period. Of course, for the first 8 or 9 years, we had a budget issue and we were limited with resources, and we, third and fourth was an achievement in itself, bearing in mind the net spend we did have. But in doing so, somebody like Theo Walcott never experienced the winning mentality and was settling and happy with third and fourth. And that's where I think the problems lie. Your most experienced player, the highest he's finished is third. And he's won one FA Cup because he was injured for the whole final. So your most experienced player, his highest position finishes third, and he's won one FA Cup, and he's been in the club for 10 years. And that's where I think part of the problems do lie. Obviously, I mean, people can argue it by saying, yeah, well, You got Peter Cech, who's won everything at Chelsea. You got Alexis, you got Ozil. Fair enough, but they've only been in the club for 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years. So purely what we touched on earlier, the issue it's a mentality issue, in my opinion, anyway.
Okay. Mentioned a lot of Theo Walcott there, and I kind of want to stay on him for a little bit. Been in the club 10 years, never really fulfilled his true potential as of yet. Whether he will or not remains to be seen. People that defend him a lot, which is something I quite like to do because I'm a big advocate of Theo Walcott. I do think he's I'm not going to say a cracking player. I think he's got a lot about him which he's yet to find about himself. If that makes any sense whatsoever. But
that is a worrying thing. It's 10 years and he hasn't found it.
The thing is that frustrates me most about him is his lack of runs for a guy that should be making runs continuously because of his pace. He doesn't know how to use it. He is the easiest player in the Premier League to mark because if you just jog alongside him for 90 minutes, job done. Because
I think I saw you tweet that the other day and I retweeted it. He was bang on. So true. Jog alongside him. You've done your job.
The more I see of him, the more I worry that he's just an average player with a bit of pace, which I know sounds horrible to say, and trust me.
No, but it's true. You've got to be direct to the point. Mate, you're right.
I mean, I don't want to say it. I mean, I've got his shirts back in that cupboard right there, but he's a player that I absolutely adore. But at this moment in time, when we're going for the league, it's kind of like when players are showing their true colours, and he doesn't even try at times. That's the most annoying thing about him is he throws his arms in the air. Who was it we got a crap result against not too long ago, and he got subbed off? Alex Iwobi came on, and he was fantastic for the 5 minutes he was on the pitch. I can't remember. I can't remember if we lost the game or if we drew it, but it was a terrible result. I'm trying to think about it. You must have been there, but I can't remember what game it was.
No, it wasn't Chelsea. No, he kept him on for Chelsea. Wait, was it Chelsea?
No, it wasn't Chelsea. It was a away game. It was a away game, and it was a really poor result. Stoke.
Yeah.
Stoke.
Was it Stoke?
Yeah, it was Stoke. And he's waving his arms in the air, and I'm just thinking, what are you moaning about, Theo? Because you've done absolutely nothing this game. Absolutely nothing. You've offered nothing to the team. You've made no runs. You haven't shown any desire whatsoever to win the ball, and you're not getting in on goal. So what's the point in you even being on the pitch?
The one run he did make in that Stoke game, he got taken down and we arguably should have had a penalty, which goes to show, excuse me, what happens when you run at players. I mean, like we mentioned, it is down to, in my opinion, where they haven't had that winning mentality, because it does reflect. A good point I think members of DT brought up on the Gooner Talk the other day. Excuse me. They mentioned that we didn't back in the day when, me and you were nippers, had players like Jules Grimmondi and, people like that. But they were carried. They were world-class players, carried 2 or 3. Now, 2 or 3 world-class players are arguably carrying 8 or 9. I wouldn't say average, but I'd say 6.5 out of 10 consistently performers. Might have the odd Joel Campbell or Giroud 8 out of 10 performer, but let's have it right. In the terms, since probably West Brom away, with the exception of City at home and Olympiacos away, every game, Ozil, Sanchez are usually your 2 standout performers, alongside checking goal and maybe Olivier Giroud or Joel Campbell, 1 or 2 others that would have filled in.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing I will say again, relating back to Theo Walcott, is that I think it should be taken into account somewhat that he did have that horrible injury, and maybe that has somewhat affected his progress as a player. And although he's 20, coming up to 27,
26.
I think that's when he was hitting his peak as a footballer. He had that fantastic season in 2012-13, carried that into 2013-14, got his injury against Spurs in the Cup. But that was when he started to develop as a centre forward.
Yeah.
And he came back the next season, a year later, and he played the game against Brighton away, and he got a goal. And I honestly thought that was his time to kind of just pick up where he left off. But it hasn't happened for him. And I still think there have been times this season, United at home, Walcott's best performance of the season for me, absolutely tenacious in that game, ruthless, winning the ball back off Schweinsteiger. If he played like that, showed that work ethic every single game,
like Alexis usually
yeah,
does.
then he would be an absolute world beater for us, but he doesn't. And I think it's just a case of we either play him as centre forward or we don't play him at all
Yeah,
because
I agree.
he's offering nothing to us on the flanks at the moment. He doesn't know how to play on the left hand side, and he's like equally as frustrating when he plays on the right hand side. And to be fair, I don't even think he makes the team at this point because Joel Campbell's keeping him out. Chamberlain could even keep him out in a way. One thing I want to talk about is the lineup going into the game against Bournemouth. You would assume El Nene is back in the team, and I honestly don't think he was injured or
Well,
whatever.
apparently his agent come out and said he wasn't. I don't know how true that is, but
I think
apparently his
I think
agent.
it's absolute bollocks that he was injured. I don't believe for a moment that he was injured in that game. It's just Wenger covering his arse. I don't know what to make of the team going into this game against Bournemouth because Ramsey was incredibly disappointing in the game against Southampton, and he has been for a good number of games
I
now.
would drop Ramsey for a while. I mean, I said the other day, for now to the end of the season, play Coquelin and, well, if he's impressive, El Nene. And somebody then goes to me, but that's far too defensive, blah, blah, blah. And I thought to myself, I said to him, the Invincibles had Vieira and Gilberto, two defensive players. One who sat there in Gilberto, the other Vieira up and down box to box. El Neni from Burnley at home looks very much box to box. Coquelin, the one who's going to sit there deep. Same with 98. Petit sat there deep. Vieira box to box. 02, you had the same thing with Edu and Vieira. And I think in order to win the league, that's how you've got to go and do things. But I mean, obviously, people say football's changed over the last 12 years. Going into the Bournemouth game, I'd still have your three of Alexis, Ozil, Campbell, Giroud up top, Coquelin and El Nene holding. Back four, definitely Gabriel and Koscielny, Bellerin and Monreal and checking goal.
Interesting. Gabriel and Koscielny, for me, they haven't been. Although I look like a total idiot because I've been calling out for them to play together all season, pretty much. I don't think they were convincing, particularly against Burnley, and I don't think they were convincing either against Southampton. It just seems to be something about them. It reminds me of when we had Koscielny and Vermaelen playing. And although I want Gabriel to warrant a place in that size, I know his quality. And the one thing I will say is these two players played together at the start of the season. And up until Chelsea away, when Gabriel got that red card, they'd formed a really good partnership for a couple of weeks. So, I mean, is it just a case of being patient with them, or maybe for a big game away from home against Watford, it would be a more sensible option to bring pretty much our captain in Mertesacker back to the side?
I think personally, Mertesacker is bye-bye now, personally. But I think we've got to do that in the summer with a lot of players. Flamini, Rosicky, Arteta, Mertesacker, bye-bye. Because they're getting on. Mertesacker, I mean, we saw it Chelsea at home. We can't afford to take that gamble of a fast striker, for example, like Benica Fobe, who is just going to play off of Mertesacker and run and run and run. Now, people say, yeah, well, he'll have Koscielny besides him, but any half-decent striker in the world of football is purely just going to play. If Koscielny's in his pocket, if Koscielny's got him in his pocket, he's just going to move to Mertesacker's side.
The funny thing is, I can just tell you now, in summer, when Arteta has been shipped out, Mertesacker will be made captain, and he'll be for a couple of more years. I guarantee it. I'd have money on that. But relating back to the other team news, not team news, but team predictions. You say you drop Ramsey, play the standard front four of Campbell, Ozil, Sanchez, and Giroud. I think it'd be quite interesting if maybe we dropped Campbell or rested him, to be kinder to him, and played El Nene, Coquelin, and Ramsey on the right flank. Because Ramsey on the right, I think that's where his better performances have come from this season. And maybe he doesn't like it there as much, but I think we've got to do what's best for the team. I mean, at the start of the season when we were putting in our best performances, our starting 11 nailed on every game was Cech, Bellerin, Koscielny, Mertesacker, Monreal, and I think it was Coquelin, Cazorla, Ramsey, Ozil, Sanchez, and it was either Walker or Olivier Giroud up top. I mean, I think it'd be interesting to see El Nene try and perform that Cazorla role, which is obviously a massive pair of boots for him to fill. But I'd like to see him at least give it a go, offer us something different in that role, avert Ramsey to the right-hand side where he's quite adapted there, even though he's not a natural winger. But it might be a more preferable option considering Campbell is so similar to Alexis in the way that he's continuously looking to cut in. I mean, what's your opinion on that concept?
I mean, with Ramsey out wide, it means he doesn't have to worry about coming back because we often get badly caught out with Ramsey playing holding and bombing upfield and us being exposed. However, Ramsey out wide, I'm not a fan of at all, personally. I think to be a winger, you need to have your traditional stuff, skill, which he's got, but also a lot of pace and also strength. Alexis is strong, believe it or not. And Ramsey gets muscled off the ball far too easily. Personally, if I was to give you my first choice Arsenal 11, it's an unpopular opinion. Aaron Ramsey doesn't get in it. Theo Walcott doesn't get in it. And I mean, very briefly, going back to what we just spoke about, the whole British core that we had in that 12-13 season just haven't progressed on. And as mentioned, in my opinion, Ramsey doesn't get into a first choice 11 purely because Cazorla is more mature in that holding role next to Coquelin. We're still yet to see what El Nene's got to bring to the table. And, also on the wing, I'd rather have someone like Joel Campbell playing there.
It's interesting. The thing with trying to predict an Arsenal strongest 11 is it changes every single month because everyone is so incredibly inconsistent. But
injury prone.
Exactly. Entering a big stage of the season now. Just kind of 4 months to go until the end of the season. Which
14 games, isn't it?
I don't. Yeah, I think so.
13 or 14 games. Yeah.
I don't know how many games we've got left, but I know it's 4 months until June time, which is when the season will come to a close. But we're still 5 points off top, so let's look at that as a positive. We're still in the FA Cup.
Keep the faith.
Don't know where we'll go in the Champions League. I mean, let's just touch on the game against Barcelona. I was hoping Jack Wilshere would be back for it because that's the only way I can see us winning it, to be honest. But he obviously won't be. How are you feeling going into that game?
Well, I spoke with a few mates because we're going out to Barcelona ourselves, and I mean, I've done the new camp before when Messi shipped four past us. I'm just purely going for the experience of going out there for a few days. The home game, I'm not feeling too confident personally, purely because I know people say we beat them before, blah blah blah, but we had, in my opinion, an equally as good a squad back then than what we do now. Because you can agree, okay, maybe not on the back, you can agree that we have 3 world-class players minimum now in our team. In Ozil, Alexis and Cech. Back then we had Nasri, Fabregas, Van Persie. Wilshere was outstanding on the night. And I mean, you've always got to have the faith. I mean, if we do it, we've got to do it like we did Bayern Munich at home. I mean, if we concede at the Emirates, I think it's game over. If we concede at the Emirates, we've got to score 3. Simple as that.
The thing is, we will concede.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm looking at it, we either take a gamble and go for a 1-0, try and win 1-0, or you've got to accept that in all likelihood you're going to concede a goal against a front three of Messi, Suarez, and Neymar, and just try and attack them and hope that they have an off day.
I would just go for it. Pretty much. What have we got to lose? We're the underdogs massively. I mean, I don't know how many Arsenal fans can honestly, hand on heart, say that they think we're capable of winning the Champions League this season, and we've drawn the favourites for it in the first round. It's a difficult position to be in, but yeah, exactly. So it's a really difficult draw for us, and there's no shame in losing to Barcelona at the end of the day. And I know that sounds like
There
losing
isn't. There
mentality.
isn't. But there is if you lose 5-1 like we done in
Yeah, we're not.
Bayern.
I don't think we'll lose like that. I don't think we'll get absolutely smashed. I don't
I
think we'll
would never
do.
put it beyond Arsenal personally.
No, I wouldn't. But I think in these kind of games, we'll be heroic. I mean, Giroud will step up to the plate. I guarantee it. I'd hope to see big performances from Alexis Sanchez. He's got a point to prove. Mesut Ozil against former rivals. It's just a case of defence. I really do worry about Neymar, Messi, and Suarez against Mertesacker.
Yeah,
That
I know. I
is
agree.
a terrifying thought. Absolutely terrifying. They could tear our defence to shreds. But on the flip side, keeping a clean sheet against Bayern Munich at home is a pretty good job. But then we went out there and conceded 5. So, I mean,
We'll have to see what's what at the end of the day.
I mean, I'm not going into that game with too much belief or hope. I was going there purely because I think it'll be a great game of football. Get to see some of the best players in the world, and that's kind of the way I've learned to treat the Champions League over the past couple of seasons, because we
Yeah,
just
no, I understand that.
seem to be behind it in terms of quality. I mean, I'm not ruling out that we can do something in this game against Barcelona, but it's a couple of weeks off. What is it, 2 and a bit weeks away? Going to be a terrifying
End of
game
the
for me. I
month,
mean, yeah, that's not going to be.
we'll have to see.
That's going to be.
Just
It's going to be stressful getting through that day, knowing that that's coming in the evening, and then going out the next day is going to be even more horrible if assuming we lose, which obviously we won't. But
we can only keep the faith. But Matt, I must say, it has been a pleasure speaking with yourself. But I've just noticed on my iPad that I've got 1% remaining, so I won't be able to talk for too much longer, because that's literally just popped up on my battery mode. So I apologise.
Okay, that's probably a good note. Well, as you can see, Danny has iPad suicide there, essentially. But yeah, we'll leave it on that. It's just me now, sadly. But thanks to everyone that has tuned into AFC Game by Game tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure. Good viewing numbers, which is always a positive, and been a wonderful chat with Danny. As you know, I've interviewed Danny a few times on the channel. Probably going to get a few more interviews up with him and various other guests in the next couple of months. Let's hope so anyway, if I've got a bit of time to do that. But plenty more content coming your way on AFC Game by Game. Hoping to get the preview for the match against Bournemouth up tomorrow. My thanks to Danny, who has sadly left us after his iPad had just had enough. You can follow me on Twitter @4Danny_Meehan. So make sure to follow him. Please do like this video if you have enjoyed it, whether you've been watching it live or watching it later. Subscribe to AFC Game by Game. And as always, I'll be speaking to you very, very soon, guys. Peace.